Good afternoon. Welcome to today's CI Tools webinar. My name is Josh Osborne, and I'm the product manager for the CI Tools here at Central Innovation. And this is a weekly webinar that we run to talk about things to do with the CI Tools. At the moment, we're going through a series looking at each of the CI Tools in order and showing you how those work using ArchiCAD 29. We are up to the coverings tool so far. 2 weeks ago, we looked at the wall coverings tool. Last week, we looked at the roof covering tool. And this week, we are going to look at a couple of functions that are common to both the wall and the roofs. And then we're also going to look at the extra coverings, which is the slab and column coverings. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. And then next week, we will be moving on to whatever is alphabetically after coverings, potentially doors and windows, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. But yes, so coverings for today. If you have any questions, as usual, just enter those in the chat panel wherever you're watching this, and I will try to answer those when I check on that, either roughly midway through the session or at the end. And if you think of anything that you want to ask later on, you can email it through to nz.support@centralinnovation.com, and that'll make its way through to me as well. And also, if you have any suggestions for future webinar topics, so tools that you'd like to see covered, or if you just want to know how to do a certain type of thing in one of the tools, send those through to the same place, and those will make their way through to me as well. If we get some requests for stuff like that, I can fit those in between covering the sort of chunks of showing specific tools that we're doing at the moment. But yeah, for anyone who this is your first time attending, this is a weekly webinar that runs every week at this time. And we look at CI tools things. So it doesn't have to just be what we're going to be looking at today, which is a sort of introduction to the tool, but we sometimes do look at things to do with updates in the tools or questions that are coming up a lot on support and that sort of thing. I am going to be working on ArchiCAD 29 today, but most of what you are going to see also applies to older versions as well. A lot of what you're going to be seeing also applies in ArchiCAD 28, and most of what you're seeing also applies to 27 and 26 and earlier as well. A lot of what we're seeing will be the same as that. So with that out of the way, let's jump into things. I'm just going to quickly check and make sure that the screen share is working okay. Just one moment. Okay, looks like we're running all right. So, as I mentioned last week and the week before, we've looked at the wall and roof coverings. This week, I want to start out by looking at one of the common functions to both of those covering types, and that is the styles functionality. So we have a system called styles, which is in both the wall and roof coverings, and it allows you to create sort of preset styles, which is why they called that, of covering that you can then easily apply to other wall and roof coverings in your projects, and you can export into other projects so that you can use the same types of thing everywhere. So if you create some sort of cladding presets that you think you'll use quite often, you can save those as styles and then use them across all your projects. So I'm just going to select my roofs here and going to add a covering to them so we have something to work with. So I'll go to the coverings menu if I can find it. Here it is here. And then go to roof coverings. Make sure I choose the CI Tools roof covering, and I'll leave it at the default settings for now and just place a covering using the default cladding types. Here we go. So selecting both of those, I'll go back in and I'll go to the cladding settings, and the styles are shown at the very top here, right underneath the navigation button here. We've got roof cladding style, and for the walls, it says wall cladding style, but it's right up at the top here where we set the cladding type. And at the moment, we can see it just says choose at the moment, which is to say that we're not using a style at the moment. So it just means you can choose a style from here, but at the moment we're not using anything at all. So if I click on the drop down, you'll see the styles that are available in the tool out of the box. Or you may not actually, they may be slightly different now because this is a migrated project, but they'll look something like this. And so there's a style for each of the type of roof that you might want to use. So I can go to this one here, new shingle, and it applies a style that I've made in advance. So it's using a lovely yellow and alizarin carmine surface texture on some shingles. And then if I switch to tiles, it will swap those out for tiles and different surface colors and that sort of thing. So everything that you can set on this page here is saved into the style. And the other thing that you'll notice is that it grays everything out. So we can no longer make any changes to any of these. And the reason for that is, as you can probably guess by the button down on the bottom right here, um, these settings are now locked. So we are using new tiles. That means we can't deviate from the new tiles settings because we are saying we are showing exactly what is in this style. Now, if we hit cancel style and unlock, that will leave us with the settings that we had applied and we can change them to whatever we want, but we're no longer using the style new tile. And if we were to apply new tile again, it will undo any settings that we've made in the meantime because it will overwrite them with new tile. So there's a good way to set up preset cladding types, maybe to specific manufacturer specifications or something like that, or just your favorites. And it means that you know that through all of the projects that you have those styles, all of the users who are working with you on these projects will be using exactly the same cladding settings as you have put in there. So you don't need to worry that if you set up a style called, say, for instance, new tile, you don't need to worry that someone else has changed the surface color of those or the thickness of the tiles or anything like that. And it's going to produce something that you can't, that is against the specification that you're using or something like that, because you know that they're all using new tiles and you can easily tell if they're not because you will be able to see if you look at the settings that they are not using the new tile preset. So everything will be ungrayed like this. So we can create these quite easily. So if I come in here and we're using the new tile preset at the moment, let's change up some obvious things here. So we'll go with those there, and then we'll make the tiles a bit wider and a bit shorter. There we go. Now you'll see up at the top here, next to the style where we've got the choose button, we've also got a create button here. So I'm going to hit that, and the field here will change to a blank text entry field. And if you have tooltips turned on, you'll see that it's wanting us to enter a name for the style. So we need to give it a name. So we'll call this one whatever we want to call it, new tile again, and then we can cancel if we change our mind about that, or we can hit save, and that will create a new style. So now we have a new tile and new tile again, both saved there, and I can toggle between those two now, and you'll see the changes happen. So the size of the tiles has changed, and the surface colors have changed between those two there. So it's nice and easy to create and edit styles as well. So if we go back into new tile again and we decide that actually that purple color was horrible and we're going with a new specifier, say, and they have slightly narrower tiles, we can go back in here and we can say this one's actually 370, and we just hit the save button, and new tile again is updated with those changes now. And now if we hit OK, it will apply that new tile again style to these roofs here. So it's nice and easy to create the styles and edit the styles that way. Just wait for my 3D view to catch up. So you can see those applied across the roof there. And then the other thing that we can do is that if we make changes to a style, we can sort of enforce that style through all of the instances where it's used. So if I open up just one of these roof coverings and I modify the style, so I'll say, well, let's edit new tile again. I'm going to change out the colors to be black and white. We're going to make it narrower again and longer again. And we'll change the thickness as well. So when using a completely different set of tiles now. Um, we make those changes, we hit save and OK. Obviously, this will do what we would expect it to, which is that it will change the covering that we had selected when we made the changes to it. So you can see we've got our black and white long narrow tiles running all the way across there. But this other roof over here, which is also using the new tile again style, doesn't have those changes. And the reason for that is simply because the coverings tool does not always look at all coverings and keep them up to date all the time, because that would destroy the performance in ArchiCAD. So the way that we do that is we go to the CI Tools menu, go down to coverings, and we say update styles. And when we run that, it'll say, if you have selected elements, it'll run the update only on the selected ones. But if you have nothing, it will give us the option to update everything. So we just hit OK, and it will go through and apply the style changes to every covering in the project. So it's nice and easy to do that way. And if you have changes in this project that you want also to go into others, you can also come into the coverings menu and go to covering styles. This will open up the list of styles here. We can have a look down at, oh, sorry, it was roof cladding, wasn't it? Roof cladding. And you can see we've got new tile again and new tiles available here. We can import and export from here. So you could export all of your styles from here as a .presets file, go into the other project that you want to bring them into and import them using the same dialog, and then just quickly jump in here, here, run the update styles command again, and anything that was modified that was using a style that is now modified, the changes will flow through to that then as well. So it makes it nice and quick and easy to push changes through to all of the projects that use those styles. And the same applies with wall coverings as well. I'll just quickly show you one of those. So we select our, not our beams, let's select our walls, coverings, wall coverings, choose this one. And then if I go to cladding, you'll see the same type of thing up here. So we've got a couple of styles available. We can hit create to create our own. And then if we place one and then modify just one of them, we can push through the style using the same function. So that's what that looks like and where that is. Just coming back out to this one here, I'm going to apply a different roof covering to this piece of roof here, because the next thing I want to look at, and it's kind of related to styles because it does use them, is that we can also grab quantity numbers out of these. So if you want to get quantity data out of these, such as the area of the cladding or something like that, let's use new shingle for this one. We can get that using some parameters in the object. Now, obviously, in quite a lot of cases, depending on what you actually want out of it, quite a lot of this could be done using a surfaces schedule or a building material list, because these are using building materials. You could just list those and get your values out that way. But if you want them just as an area or something like that, then we can use a schedule to do that. So we've got 3 roof coverings, 2 of them using one style and 1 of them using another one. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new schedule. So I'll just open up my schedule settings here and create a new one. Call it roof 1, elements, element type, oops, is roof coverings. And then we'll add in fields for ID. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit this button here and go to library part parameters, which will let us choose the library part that we want to look at. We're going to filter that to used objects only, just so it's a bit easier. And we're going to go to coverings, CI Tools, library coverings, select the roof covering, and you'll see a list of the available parameters there. And what we can do is we can scroll through and find the parameters that we want here. So let's have a look through here. Okay, so once you scroll down a little way through this, you will find a sort of a cluster of parameters that all start with the CALC, calc. So these are the calculated values. So we can come in here and we can say, let's grab the calculated roof area, add that in, roof length and width. And then, sorry, grab this one called cladding as well, and we'll hit OK. So throw those all in, and then if we have a look, you will be able to see that it has pulled out those values for us. So the top two are going to be identical because those two roofs are identical. They're just mirrors of each other. So we get the two measured values for those there, as well as the roof cladding type. So we're using tiles on those two and shingle on this one. And then you see this one is different values because it's the other roof. So you can get your area values out of the parameters using those. And then we can also do a wall schedule using roughly the same type of thing as well. So if we create the same sort of thing, walls, the type is, you need to click on more to get to the coverings when you're defining the type. Let's go wall coverings there. We'll add in element ID, and then we'll do the same again. So we'll say library part parameters. Oh, actually, I'm not using any wall coverings at the moment, so we'll need to leave the full view on. CI Tools coverings, CI Tools library coverings, and then we choose CI Tools wall covering. And in the wall covering tool, we are looking for these cladding area ones. And this is broken up into 5. And the reason for that is because of the split claddings. So if you have used coverings before, or you saw the previous webinars, you can split the cladding. So we can have a main cladding. We can have a, if I expand this out, you'll be able to see below cell height cladding and above head height cladding, a below opening cladding and an above opening cladding. So there are 5 cladding areas available. I'll just add the main one for that. So that will give us the area, and then cladding preset will give us the name of the style that is used there. So I'll add that one as well. So we're scheduling out the area and the name of the cladding that is applied. Hit OK. This is not going to give us anything because we don't have any there. So let's add some just quickly so we can see those. That's not the right thing again. Here we go. Some walls. Coverings, wall coverings. We will choose one of the presets. Sorry, one of the styles. Let's go with ribbed. Okay, that will apply our wall covering. And then if I go back to my schedule, wall 1, we should see those there. So you can see that they have given us the name of the preset. So you could give the name something sensible, for instance, the specific product that you are using. Maybe you're using the new ones that I showed off the other way, the Stratco 9-line ones. You could create a preset called Stratco 9-line fluted, and then that will show up in your schedule saying exactly what it is, and then you'll see the area of it scheduled there as well. So that is how you can get schedules to give you the area numbers of parts of your cladding, and also how you can apply the styles to them and pull those out in your schedules as well. Now, before we finish up, I just want to quickly have a look at the other 2 types of coverings that we have available. And then I'll have a look and see if there's any questions before we finish up. So there's 2 different types. There's the slab coverings. I'll just draw up a slab here so that we have something to apply it to. So go back to the coverings menu, choose slab coverings, and there's a couple of these available. The deprecated one is just an old version of the decking. There's not really any real reason to use that. So we'll go to the CI Tools decking here, and this one will let you do pretty much what it sounds like it will do. It will just do decking. My apologies to anyone Australian listening to me say this with my New Zealand accent. But here we go. So the plenty of options for how the boards should be set out here. You can see a bewildering number of dimensions for all of the parts of the boards there. And then over on the right, as with all of the other coverings, we can specify the building material, and we can also specify a, a surface override for that as well. And if we apply that and have a look at it, you'll see that we get some nice, as with all of the other coverings, some nice properly 3D board elements running across there. So we can cut a section through that and you'll see all of those grooves and that sort of thing. So that is the decking slab covering. The other slab covering object is the precast slab, which again does pretty much exactly what you would expect it to. So as per usual, we can specify the building materials on the right here, and then on the left we specify what the actual, well, not cladding in this case, but covering is. So we've got the option for single and double T, hollow core, unispan, and interspan. And if you select those, you'll see those changes being made up there, and you'll also see this diagram down below, update. And with any of those that we make, we can specify the dimensions of each of the parts of that. So we can go through and set those here, set our building materials, hit OK, and then we will get a nice 3D precast shape on this one. You can still see the slab, obviously, so you can't see entirely well, but we've got that building material of timber on there, as well as the precast part there showing as well. So those all look good when we cut through in section and that sort of thing as well. So those are the two types of slab coverings we have, and then we also have a column covering. This one's probably the least used of the coverings, but it is available if you ever want to make some fancy coverings, fancy columns. So we select our column, same as always, go to the coverings menu and choose the covering there. And we've got a couple of different options here. They all work relatively self-explanatorily. So we've got a column fluting. So this will draw fluting around the column. We can choose whether we want it to be offset from the top, bottom, or the top and the bottom at the same time. And then we can use the dimensions here to specify the size of the flutes and the size of the actual covering piece. So how much it needs to taper across the length and that sort of thing. And then over on the right, we've got our usuals. Column wrap works similarly as well. So we choose what the shape of the wrap should be and what the size is. We choose how it should be applied around the column there, and then we choose where it is placed on the length of the column itself. And then the column footing is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a footing that we will stick down generally at the bottom of the column. However, you can move that to wherever you need to by using the height option here, and apply that to your columns that way. So choose the one that you want, hit OK, and that will go through and apply that. This is going to look a little bit silly because the column was quite small, I think, but you should be able to get the idea. You can see we've got three nice little flutes on each side there. And it just makes it nice and easy to get that done if you do need to do that in your project. All right, I'm just going to quickly pause the screen share and see if we've got any questions. Just one moment. If you do have any questions, now is the time to enter those. Let's see. Okay, yeah, someone's asking if you can view the webinar at a later date. These are all archived on YouTube, so they're running through YouTube, and then they will stay there on our CI Tools channel, so you can go back anytime and watch any of these webinars. I will be at some point going through and editing the last batch of them just to remove the timer thing at the beginning and giving them a title of what they are so that you can find them a bit more easily, but you can see them all there. We keep them all archived and publicly available, so you can watch any of those anytime.